16 million colors. Wreak some havoc in your head.
Sega Saturn.
Greetings, junkies. Welcome to the Saturn Junkyard Titancast. My name's Brian, and today we have a bout full of fighters to talk about. And with help on that, we have a whole crew of worthy contenders who have joined me to talk about their favorite fighting games on the Saturn, roundtable style. And we'll just get into it because we got a loaded plate today. Joining me today is Camron. How are you doing, sir?
Well, thank you, Brian. Ready to roll as always.
Nice. And Nuno, how are you doing?
What is very well, trying to survive the heat wave.
Oh boy. Do you got humidity with that in Portugal right now?
No, it's dry.
Oh,
I don't know what is worse. Well, I think dry in general is not as worse as wet. But yeah, it's so hot outside. And most of our houses are not really properly insulated. There are lots of historical reasons for that, or better yet, lack of developmental reasons for that. We're slowly trying to get past that stage and be more strict with new codes for building houses. But yeah, my house is not really up to that. We got some insulation done after the house was built. That kind of mitigates it a lot, actually. Not just a bit, actually, made some massive difference. But even still, it's still a bit hot inside, and outside is it's an oven.
Yeah.
It's really, really hot.
Do you have just like a network of fans or portable air conditioners or things to...
Actually, no, we don't use that. We just kind of tolerate it, withstand it.
Well, I mean, I guess you could get used to it I don't know. I feel like later in the summer I tend to do better, but then like the first hot weekend or so, I'm just sweltering. I
think it's worse at night because even though by then it cools down a bit, the house has kind of retained the heat. Mm-hmm. And during the day, you're kind of distracted. You're going about your day. But at night, you're just really trying to slow down and chill out and get sleep. And you don't have anything else to distract you from the heat. And it's just, yeah, we survive. We get by.
All right. Well, best of luck, Nuno. And I hope you're able to keep cool and hope it eases soon. Also joining us today are a couple of esteemed guests. We got Patrick from Sega Saturn Shiro. How are you doing, sir?
Doing all right. Trying to buy a expensive Walkman, and it's not going well.
Oh, is this like a, I don't know, 90s one or?
It's a professional version. It's called a WMD6C. It's a pretty high-end Walkman, and it's pretty hard. It's not hard to find. It's not rare. It's just expensive, and everybody, quote unquote, knows what they have.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's not willing to cut deals and are being very, very rude about it, frankly. So,
yeah, I think as people who try to buy old video games from time to time, we can all kind of relate to more and more people, quote unquote, knowing what they have and not working against us.
Yeah, but besides that's pretty good. I'm excited for this cast. I am a big fighting game fan. I have how many fighting sticks? I think I have 12 fight sticks, and about 7 or 8 of them I've modded in some form or another, whether it's from complete bare breakdown from ripping all the electronics out of it to switching out just buttons.
Mm-hmm.
So it's it's to the point where I actually have a net city in my living room, in my den over there. So I work on that quite a bit. So I'm a big fan of fighting games and excited to be here and talk about fighting games and talk with you guys about it.
No, your setup's pretty sweet with that Net City. You have like your Mister and everything.
Yep, the Mister's inside of there, and I can switch it out for the what's it called, the Naomi system. So I have that all booted with a Raspberry Pi, so I can play pretty much any Naomi game I want. Sans the ones that need steering wheels or guns or fishing rods or more wheels.
Jealous person. But if there was somebody setup that would make me a jealous person, It would be Pat's setup. I just love pictures of Pat's setup, from his Saturn kiosk to his Net City, all his arcade sticks. One day I'll get there.
You're more than welcome to come over here, stay in my my game room, and sleep all around the consoles and CRTs. It's
It
like
sounds so
camping.
nice.
It's quite quaint. I think the only one that's done it so far is Emerald Nova, and he liked it quite a bit.
Yeah, I think I was there for just a couple hours because it was in between stuff. I was there for a work retreat, but that was, yeah. Thanks for the tour. That was, I don't know, that was a few months ago at this point. But yeah,
No
that was
worries.
really cool.
Hopefully you'll come out again soon. I've had you, Derek, aka Team, and then Emerald Nova out so far. So I'm knocking that list of Saturn people and trying to get everybody in the house playing the kiosk or the candy cab.
Hell yeah. Oh, I will say that is probably the turning point for where you got me hooked on Twinkle Star Sprites.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. That's one of my favorite shooters. I'm glad you enjoyed it,
Yeah,
even though it could be brutal sometimes.
Yeah.
We figured out how to play that game.
Yeah, I think it doesn't make sense unless you are playing side by side with somebody, is what I've arrived at. Because I'll try to play it single player, and it's not quite the same dynamic.
Yeah, it's more fun. It's like a fighting game almost with a shooter. So you lose. It's like fighting. It's pretty much like a fighting game where it's a different experience fighting a human than it is a bot, because you have that level of, oh man, I'm gonna get you, or like the sweat dropping down your brow as you're like both on your last heart trying to get the other guy to mess up.
I was just trying to figure out how to pass the those little purple like ghosts or whatever back and forth from one screen to the other, because I think that's the objective, isn't it? You're trying to shoot things on your screen to send them to the other screen like a puzzle game to do damage to the other guy, right? And we're trying to get like the biggest combo by shooting the most things at once.
And you send the stuff over to like make their screen just hell to try to navigate. So you try to kill all the stuff in your screen, save up, shoot a boss at them. It's kind of fun, actually.
All right. Okay, now it's starting to make more sense. Thank you.
Yeah, we should definitely. You're right, though. Yeah, it definitely has the cadence of kind of a puzzle game in that way.
I just wish the cart of it wasn't as expensive. It's like I think when I tried to buy it, it was $500. I think it's about $1,200 for the cart alone nowadays.
For MVS?
Yep.
Oh yeah, I can believe that.
I mean, is that like pretty middle of the road or standard compared to other?
For MVS?
Oh no, not
probably the
MVS.
most
I guess
expensive.
I was thinking AES.
Yeah, no, AES. I don't think there ever was an official AES version of that. I think all of them are boots, I believe. I'm not the biggest AES guy. I'm more MVS, so if it's not MVS, I don't really know much about it. But yeah, because I think there's like two other games, like Neo Bomberman did not get an AES release either, so all those are hacks or like conversions. And you can tell because like even if you set to AES mode, it'll still have that MVS stuff on it, so you can't really get rid of that.
Fair enough. All right, and then our other guest today is Tom. How are you doing?
Yeah, fine. I'm just looking up that tape player of Pat's. I just told my brother about it downstairs, and he was like, "Oh, send me a link. Send me a link." But yeah, loving it. Glad to be here. It's quite surreal. I was literally just drifting off listening to you guys as if I was just listening to the podcast. So it's very surreal, but very exciting.
No, it's great to have you as a pillar of the community, I'd say. And you do a lot of your streaming and everything. Is there anything you want to plug at the outset?
Well, there's obviously the Saturn Junkyard Twitch channel, which is a nice little corner of the internet.
Great Twitch channel.
Yeah.
It's good fun, but
Little sound.
it's all about the routine, though. I haven't had a routine really, and my life falls to bits if I don't have a routine. But I'm about to start a new job, so there'll be a routine, and I'm sure everything will. Knowing when you've got the time off, rather than your job's cancelled, your job's on, your job's off. So I'm looking for things are all falling into place for me, and I'm ready to sort of get the Twitch more sort of regimented. It'd be nice to have a schedule, wouldn't it? So everyone
I'm
knows
excited for you,
when
man.
things are
It's gonna
happening.
be cool.
Yeah. I was talking with Pat before we started recording, just saying like I'm going to be working in a hospital in the theater, but not the acting theater, surgery.
I
We
didn't
got
know that.
confused, didn't we?
Yeah, because I didn't realize that in the UK that they refer to their operating room as a theater per se. So
Yeah, where
I
all
think it's
the
kind of funny.
the magic happens. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I just think it's less stressful though. I don't know. Operating room seems more sterile and scary, while theater seems like, oh, that's kind of less scary. Oh, you go into the theater, it's like, oh, it's not too bad. I don't know.
They give you like a program and some popcorn. Yeah. Sorry, I was just gonna say I'll be sure to let you guys know all the gory details.
Yeah,
Unless
send
there's
some
like
pictures.
non-disclosure agreements and things.
Yeah, just snap a quick picture with your cell phone, and.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe not on the first day. That's what my friend said. I was with some friends in the park, and she was like, "Get a picture in your scrubs." And I was like, "Well, I don't want to be like done by HR on my first day for like
Yeah, I mean the
straight to
scrubs thing would
HR."
be a cute photo. I don't think anybody in HR would yell at you
Cute
for.
photo.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe if it's. I don't know. Like the I guess the what's it called, the job acceptability in the
Mm.
UK. But I don't know. I think a picture in your scrubs would be kind of cute. Well, not. It would be cute. Like you. It'd be cute in terms. It'd be a cute picture, like to send your family. Oh, that's really nice. Cool, dude. That's awesome. It's like
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just whether you're allowed your cell phone out and about. I don't think you are. Once
I
you're
mean, you
in
could
there,
probably snap a photo outside the hospital or something, I guess.
yeah, I could do. But it's yeah, I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot in the next week. All the sort of like health and safety and the training, and there's lots to learn. But it's a
Nice.
technical position. It's going to be similar to setting up my optimal timings on my OSSC, except it'll be like a laser or a
Yeah.
keyhole surgery machine or something.
The thing is that if you mess this one up, you can kill a person versus not to put pressure on you or anything. Then
Dodgy
OSSC.
sync on a Mega Drive, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean, worst case, you just don't get a stream. The other worst case is, got another body to throw into
yeah.
into the old Abbey.
Well, it's supernumerary, so basically, I'm not at I'm not what's the word? I won't be in a responsible position. My name will be in brackets on the board, so there'll be 3 or 4 people as a team. You work together as a team in that one operating theater.
Okay,
And
it takes the stress
my
off a
name's
little
in
bit then.
brackets, so I'm just learning. I'm still doing, but it's not like they'll make me do anything that I don't know yet. And
It's like, okay, I need you to go into his brain and rewire it. It's like, I'm good, fam. You can do that for me. I'm not.
yeah. I'm the guy that passes the tool to the guy that passes the tool to the guy that passes the tool to the guy that passes it to the surgeon.
That's fair.
And then but it's all up from here, so it's going to be exciting. I think I'm going to be quite good with I'm most looking forward to all the different machines and the different types of surgery and stuff. So
that's really exciting. Yeah, best of luck, and friendly word of advice: leave the junior mints at home.
Great. We were also talking about TV as well, weren't we, Pat, before this?
Yeah,
And,
we're talking
yes,
about.
I know. I get the reference. Another of my favorite TV shows. I've just finished watching it all for a second time.
I don't get the reference.
So there was an episode where Kramer and Jerry of Seinfeld, where they were in an operating theater. They were up above, with their, I don't know, where you have like Doctor
The gallery, it's
Seinfeld.
called. Yeah.
In the gallery, and yeah, he gets some junior mints and he accidentally drops one into the patient while they're on
It's assimilated into their system.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Fair.
Oh,
Okay.
I bought some junior mints. I think that's one of the first things I did when I first went to America. I was like, right, I'm getting some junior mints.
I'm sorry to
Just
hear
so I
that.
can take a picture of them.
Was it at least good? I'm not a big mint guy, to be honest.
In England, it's basically you can have them as like it's the same, but you get them as a chocolate bar, and it would just be called peppermint cream. It's called peppermint cream.
Dude, I absolutely hate like peppermint and mint and chocolate. That's like some that's blasphemy right there.
Really?
It's like putting toothpaste in chocolate. It's like you just don't do it.
But what about peanut butter and chocolate?
Yeah.
Oh, peanut
But
butter
yes,
is
you do.
awesome.
Okay.
Mints. That
Okay,
was
so
like
when I worked at Tim Hortons, so I worked at Tim Hortons for 2 or 3 years when I was in my early 20s, and my brother
that's the
worked
most.
there with me.
Hold on. I was going to point out that's the most Canadian thing I've ever heard in my life. But go on.
You're welcome. We actually had the Olympic torch passed by one time, so it got even more Canadian around there.
Ooh.
But I was working as a baker there with my brother, and we have the iced cappuccinos. So he told me that if you make an ice cap with instead of regular milk, you make it with chocolate milk, and you give it a mint shot, it tastes amazing. And I'm like you, Pat. I was like, that sounds disgusting. And he's like, no, you're having it. To which he got me hooked on them, and now whenever I go to Tim Hortons, I'm sad because they've discontinued the mint shot. And I'm like,
Oh.
so no ice cap for me because you don't know how to make it right.
Yeah, I
There's
don't.
no
Yeah,
mint
I don't
shot
know.
in my ice cap.
I don't know, man. There's debate going there, but man, I just can't. I don't know. I just can't vibe with chocolate and mint. It's just it's an unholy. Like I'm fine with either one of them separate. Like I like mints to like make my breath smell good. Chew gum. But like with chocolate, it's like I don't know about that.
What are
That's
those like
kind of
thin mints that they have around the Christmas times? They're like the really
Oh,
thin
yeah.
ones.
After
Those ones are
eight.
oh
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah,
Those
the
are
after eight. Yeah, Tom, thank you.
Yeah.
After eight.
There's a
Those are
story of me when
amazing.
I was a little kid. Apparently it was Christmas time, and the after eights they go round, they get passed round the adults, and the kids can have like one, and the kids are just amazed by them because there's a little sleeve, like a record sleeve, you pull this mint out of the sleeve. And apparently my mum said that they were all like, where are all the after eights? And I just sat there and I'd eaten like the whole box like a little
Yes.
kid.
Speaking of holidays, I'd really love to get like I don't know. They don't have Christmas crackers here in the United States. That'd be kind of neat. I'd like to get some of those.
You don't have those?
We have those here in Canada.
We don't do those here now.
What do you do then? Do you just punch each other on the arm or something?
We bash each other over the head with their expensive Walkman.
Oh yeah, yeah. The one that I've got the page up now. I'm intrigued by this
It's
because
pretty
I did not
fancy.
know they made fancy. It's a tape recorder though. Every time you say Walkman, I just think you want to go somewhere with it. If you want it, that's bigger than the Switch OLED. I mean, you can. It's not going to fit in your pocket.
It's about the size of a little Bible.
Well, no, not a Gideon's one. Surely not.
Not a Gidgeon. No, you're not going to find a hotel with Paul McCartney singing about Rocky Raccoons.
I will say on the mint thing, my favorite chocolate mints have got to be the Andes.
Oh,
They have those. The
not had
Andes
those.
cream.
No.
You
Oh,
guys
man.
make me absolutely sick. You and your chocolate.
Well, they're
mint crap.
they're a little different in that they're mostly chocolate with a thin layer of the peppermint or spearmint or whatever it is in between. Those
okay.
like little miniature chocolate bars, and they're very good. Like that, and that's thinking about holidays. I don't know. I liked them when I was a kid. I like them a lot, and then my parents just continue to give them to me every year. So
A tradition.
Yeah, toothpaste. It's chocolate candy canes.
Oh God, I hate candy canes too. That's another story in itself.
I was
My
just going to
God.
say, I was worried doing this that my sort of ADHD brain would cause tangents to fly off. But so far, I've not been responsible for any of it, so I'm quite happy.
Fair, but yeah,
It's been enjoyable. Yeah.
I
we
mean,
probably move on to like fighting stuff. Wait, no, we didn't talk to Nuno yet.
Chocolate, right?
We blew up both of them. Sorry.
You must be able to do a link, Pat. Come on, you're a professional. Go from junior mints to a fighting game.
Okay, so speaking of junior mints, stuff that I'd rather play and not put in my mouth would be probably fighting games.
Indeed.
Okay, that's pretty bad, but never mind. Good
I
choice.
couldn't think of anybody that used mints. I was like, I don't know, anybody eat mints? I mean, if we're talking about sneakers, I'd be like, speaking of sneakers, Kazuya loves sneakers, and he's in Tekken, which is a great fighting game, but unfortunately, we didn't get anything like that.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll just put this transition, this
Anyway.
the segue out of its misery. Anyway,
Brilliant.
yeah, fighting games. That's why we're here. And as a preface to this, I think we had an episode, a couple years back, where we did talk about some of our favorite fighting games at the time. And we just I don't know. It's kind of nice to check in on that from time to time. The Saturn notoriously is or famously rather, is just a spectacular platform for fighting games for a variety of reasons, both as an extension of Sega's 90s arcade pedigree with Virtua Fighter and Fighting Vipers and all of the games that they were kind of pioneering the 3D space with at the time, that found homes on the Saturn, as well as the Saturn's prowess with 2D fighting games, which garnered all the attention of Capcom's great works at the time, and SNK to a lesser extent. So yeah, we'll probably just go through and talk about maybe not our absolute favorite ones, but certainly games that we've been playing recently or that are just top of mind and we find interesting and feel like we want to talk about. So I think we can just start. I don't know, Cameron, what would you like to bring to the table at this point?
I would actually like to start off with talking about, I'll say not the lack of representation, but kind of the lack of representation in the West. Because when it came to the West with fighting games, we got Marvel superheroes, and I know we got more than just Capcom's 2D fighters, but it came to an end. Like, we didn't get a lot of what Japan got. But what we did get, I think there was a lot of quality in. So I would like to talk a little bit about that, which is Street Fighter Alpha 2 Gold, which is what came in the Street Fighter collection. Unfortunately, we didn't get the Street Fighter Collection 2 or Street Fighter 03 in the West, but I'll let someone else talk about those games. But what we did get was really good in that collection, because you got Street Fighter Turbo 2, I think it's the World Warriors, because I haven't really played that disc very much. Not that it's
And
not
honestly,
a good
there's
game.
so many different versions of it. I get confused. Like, I thought
It's
Hyper
the new
Fighting.
challenges, I think, isn't it? Is
Yeah.
that what you get? New
It
challenges.
could be,
I think.
and thank you. Which is actually really good. I was surprised. Not that I should be surprised. I mean, every time you play a 2D fighter on Saturn, I find that they're pretty smooth, pretty responsive. I don't feel like anything's missing, even though I'm probably sure there's frames or two here or there from arcade missing. I've never really noticed stuff like that, but like playing from like Super Nintendo to Saturn, you can definitely tell the games became so much smoother in that 2D space. Even with games like Marvel Superheroes, when you're Spider-Man and he swings across the stage, it almost feels effortless and you almost feel like you're a Marvel superhero, which is another game I think they've really nailed.
Yeah, no, that's what I really like about the Saturn stuff that you bring that up, is that the transition between Super Nintendo and Saturn is just like night and day. Like, it just looks so buttery smooth. Like, I don't know, like it went from sticking at 30 or something to, a smooth 60 with fluid animations,
Yeah, exactly. Like I was saying, Street Fighter Alpha 2, isn't that like they ported it a magnificent or somehow to Super Nintendo?
Yeah,
Or was it only Street Fighter
it's
Alpha?
not that fantastic. It's kind of weird though, because like they even ported Street Fighter Alpha from the CPS2 to the CPS1 with that CPS charger, and actually plays kind of decently.
Right, but when you play it on like the Saturn, then it becomes this whole other thing, which I think is kind of sad. That I feel like it was like the Street Fighter collection was overlooked in the West because it came out in '97, and we were already kind of like, in a sense, winding down the Saturn.
Yeah, in a way, and not to mention there's all the other fighters that were coming out at the same time, like the newer ones, like I think X-Men or Street Fighter, stuff like that was coming to the West. More superheroes, and I can't remember what year MVC came out. If that was not, that might have been '96. I think I'm gonna do some Google searching real quick. But yeah, I'm fairly sure that came out. Yeah, '98. Okay, so it was '98.
Yeah, that would have been way too late in the Saturn's life to sadly put that out in the West.
Yeah, even Japan, it might be a little bit too late as well.
Yeah, I mean, they did release it pretty early on in Dreamcast's life, so I'm assuming they made that decision pretty quickly when the writing was on the wall for the Saturn.
I'm really glad that a lot of the characters that we came to see in a lot of the modern Street Fighter are still in like Alpha 2. and Alpha 2 Gold and stuff like that. I thought that was a really good game. There's some that say Alpha 2 Gold is better than 03, but I'm not sure because I haven't really gotten a chance to play 03 on Saturn yet. Anybody else have
I've
any experience with
got
that?
02, a Japanese copy. It was like literally one of the first, probably the first Japanese physical game I bought, and I just thought it was incredible. It was like the first 2D fighter I'd played, and on the Saturn. But
Yeah,
it's
sorry.
carry on.
I was gonna say that I played 03, but I'll go into it after you go with your turn.
But there is that thing that I've noticed that a lot on the Facebook, on the Junkyard Facebook as well, and loads of people do say, "Oh, that or the gold version is like their favorite," and then they know that I've always, because I don't, maybe it's because I own like the collection, and 02 was like an original game I bought when I was first picking up, even just the gold band on the when the manual's in on the case. It was all new to me back then. It was like, oh, this game, it's Street Fighter, but the art style, and then 03, everyone's like, oh, it takes the 4 meg, it's amazing, it's incredible, and it is. You can tell it's just slightly slicker. It feels like, but there's something about the style of that 02 that I just think is amazing. So and with the collection, again, it's just really nice, all that stuff. And I went nuts and I bought all those figures by Fan Home, and I had to stop myself. So I'm looking at them now. I've got about 16, 20 of them, something like that. And I stopped it because it was like 12. It was like $40 a month for 4 figures. But yeah.
And I think Alpha 2 comes before that time where like Capcom decided that they were going to go crazy and go all in with like, well, maybe not, but with Alpha, they were going to go all in with like hyper dub championship remix editions and stuff like that.
And the teamy things as well and stuff like that, I suppose.
Or when we were getting like Darkstalkers and then Necromancer, and Capcom's like, have a fighting game every month, if you will, and bask in 31 flavors.
Literally,
there's
the
plenty
Dreamcast
there to enjoy, isn't there?
Yeah, the Dreamcast became like a fighting game machine almost.
Not that this is the place where we would complain about something like that.
No, I'm just saying that I like that, they had all these unique fighters. They took these chances, like, you know what? How about we fight with giant mechs? You know what? How about we fight in a school? You know what? How about we fight? I'm trying to think of another one. Why don't we just go to SNK and ask to beat them up?
Kick footballs at each other, and you can do specials and smack people with. I'm thinking Project Justice, aren't I?
Yeah, Project Justice is great.
Yeah, I feel like you guys talked about that recently, or I might be going nuts.
I don't know. I played it fairly recently, but I'm not sure I've talked about it on the cast yet.
Yeah, it's really good. I have it on my Naomi cab, and it's a lot of fun to play on there.
The 3D 2D thing with the Saturn games as well, that causes. We've had like the members in the the people on the Facebook. They often say, "Oh, I'm not really into 3D fighters," and but I like both. But when it comes to Street Fighter, I'm all about 2D and the Saturn ones. And I think I'm with Camron on the whole 02 thing. I get what he means, that especially for me, because it was probably 2 and 3. I think they're both great, but there's something about putting the disc in that sounds silly, but
yeah,
I'm a big look through,
Yeah, there's like some sort of ritual in putting your disc in, putting your controller in, pressing start, getting down, or like pat and jiggling your joystick for a while.
And I can't afford to buy 03, so I'm like 02's better because I can't afford 03 physical. It's a bit like that too. I'm happy with that. And I can play it on a satiator. I'm very lucky, but even like what's it? When like you're about to have a fight and it says where the stage is and it's round 1. Even the graphics on 03, I just prefer the presentation before a fight it's more classic. It's not that far removed from all the Street Fighter 2 revisions, the font and the text and all that. That's probably why I prefer it to 03. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think
it's interesting to see how much was created and started in the Alpha series that made it into the main line of Street Fighter games, like into 3 and into 4.
Yeah, they were bringing in these new characters, and we were just supposed to sort of that's what got silly for me. That's why I stopped collecting, because I just kind of wanted one of all of the alpha ones. But they send you these fan home like little figures, but they obviously drip feed them. You can't just pick which one you want. So I don't think I've got there's definitely one or two from the alpha series I don't actually have.
So do you just like mail order them? Like they just like come to they just like, oh, I buy
yeah, they
like
come in a box and you get 4. They're like in little red boxes. You can see and obviously some people would be like, oh my God, you took them out of the box. But of course I did. I'm not going to spend like 40 quid on things to just have them on the box in the box. I want to get them out and display them. So, but I stopped collecting them, and they're a dime a dozen. They're not rare, are they? They're just fun to collect. But I quit because it's like 40 quid a month and I just don't need, I only really know the original Street Fighter plus I think it's the new challengers. So you got, what is it? They added Cammy and some others. Then you've got like, so someone like, is it Cody with he wore like chain handcuffs around him, right? And he's like a bit more of a big deal now. That's as far as I go when there's some of these characters. But you get like it's not really a magazine, but it's like, and it's not a pamphlet. It's kind of in between. It's A4, and you get some cool facts, not just about the character, but you get deep dives into some Capcom properties, and it's very nicely done. So it is worth the money. But like I say, I stopped because I was like, well, I don't know this character, so I'm still on my journey with Street Fighter. I just want to be good at it, but I'm basically all I can play as is Ken. That's pretty much it. I know all of Ken's moves, and that's all. So
that's fair.
Then you can play as a bunch of other players. Then see, my thing is with fighting games is every fighting game is almost exactly the same in some degree. If you've played a fighting game, you've played all the fighting games.
Yes and no. If you play, I'm gonna just chat rubbish now. What's that? I've just bought it and I can't remember what it is. It's a treasure game, and it's apparently some god awful anime, and it's on the DS. It's called oh, it's gonna drive me nuts. We'll have to come back to it. But those kind of games.
DS or 3DS?
Yeah. I mean, sorry, I really should not tangent away, but it's a cool game. I'm just trying to remember what it might be called. Blaze. It's probably in the DS right now. I'm just about to grab it.
Yeah, but no, I have to agree with Jiggle that, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say it's the same, because if you go from Tekken...
Bleach. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, Bleach. Oh, that's an anime,
Dark Souls, right? It's called... That's why I was saying it's funny. Yeah, Bleach Dark Souls, right? It's a Sega game, well published by Sega.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a Sega game, man.
Yeah. And it's like those kind of games... Yeah, I agree with you, though. I wasn't trying to be argumentative. I was just saying, I understand. Yes and no for discussion, It's
yeah,
I like a nice
I'll
debate.
choose violence. I'll choose violence, Jiggle.
Well, it is a fighting game podcast. But,
yeah, but no, like I said, it's going to be vastly different, like from Smash to Tekken to like a regular 2D fighter.
No, I'll agree game, though. Smash is its own outlier. Like, don't get me wrong, I will never compare Smash to Street Fighter, because I look at Smash like sumo wrestling, where like Street Fighter is like boxing or actual street fighting, right?
I think Smash is like a party game, in my opinion. I never took it seriously.
No, I look at Smash like sumo, because the object of the game is to just make your opponent weak and knock them out of the ring.
Yeah, like baseball bat them into oblivion, hit the screen, and fall over.
Yeah.
Right, you're just supposed to push them off the edge of the circle.
But yeah, I guess the point I was making is that there's so many different variations. Even to me, like the MVC style game versus Street Fighter are like on completely different planes in some aspects in terms of strategy and playing, because they just feel way different. And while I guess they have similar move sets, it just feels to me like a completely different game, and that's why I'm not really good at some fighters versus other ones.
I won't argue that some games feel different, but what I'm saying is they'll all have a block move. They'll all have like a punch or a kick or maybe a special. There's going to be possibly grabs, dodges maybe, and you're just going to try to figure out where you're going to put them in. You're still going to try to like do footsies, and you're still trying to, balance how close in your range is or manage your health. And then quarter circles are important, or, trying to learn stuff like that. It's in every fighting game. And even so, like I said, some of the controllers are the same. Like if you played one Capcom game, you have played them all. They're going to quarter circle, high kick into a ball or something like that, or a spin.
I don't know. I see where Patrick's coming from though, just because I mean the cadence of each of those games and just the way that you have to think about your timing and inputs, like it's very different. Like, you know, I might want something a little more laid back or a little slower compared to, you know, like the chaos of a MVS game. And so I would play them when I'm in very different moods.
You move your expectations to a different game and then learn that game. And then once you've learned that game, you can go back to one of those other games with the skills you've learned and just change your timing, because you're like, oh, well, the timing's just this much different than my game. Okay, now I got it. Right? So you can take your skills from another fighting game.
Yeah. I mean, that works. That works for the general mechanics, but I'm talking about like the reason I'm playing that game to begin with. Like, if I'm going to something I want to, you know, be a little more methodical, or, you know, just have a slower pace, maybe focus on counters a little more, I'm not going to necessarily play the same thing that I'll want to go to when I'm, you know, want to get amped up and just go ape shit on someone's face with Wolverine's claws and MVC. You know, so I don't know. I feel like in a different state of mind, I would approach those games differently, even if they do share a lot of the basic mechanics of how to play them similarly, if that makes sense.
But I would argue that, like, if you've got a character like Zangief, or you've got a character like Wolverine, that another game will have a character that it's at least trying to do the same thing and will carry the same archetypes, like your fast character, your brawler, your grappler, your zone type, or something like that. Or even your Shotos like Ryu and Ken and Sakura and Akuma and even Yuri from SNK.
Yeah, I see where you're going with it. Yeah, I see where you're going.
I'd say the alpha games are interesting though too, because even within that you can pick. I mean, what's the isms, or what, you know, or the turbo style? Like, you have all these different. It's like, what do I want my specials to be? How fast do I want the action to be? And so, like, that in itself lends itself a little more, I don't know, flexibility.
And I think that's one of those things, like that flexibility that is probably one of the reasons I play that game more than, say, Marvel Superheroes or Darkstalkers, which are also Capcom games and really well made, but they don't have those isms or the turbo speeds, I think, which I guess I really enjoy.
Yeah. But there are certain games like a Virtua Fighter, right, where it's like the fastest character, like a Jackie or somebody, is still going to be, if you were to put them in a Street Fighter game and try to play the same way, you're going to be way slower than some
I can definitely agree to that. But inside of like a Virtua Fighter, right? Well, obviously you can't do what you would do in Virtua Fighter and Street Fighter because you can't jump really.
Maybe a bad example.
No, it's a wonderful example, because I'm trying to argue that, you know, what can you take from Street Fighter and put into like your Virtua Fighter game and be like, well, that was like a comparable, like, you know, thank you for teaching me that. Now I can use that.
I feel a new Versus game coming on, guys. We should be phoning up Sega and Capcom.
Oh, man.
Because, like I said, exactly like you said, Brian, when I feel like I want to be in a more laid-back mood, I'll play Virtua Fighter 5 on PS4, because the input mechanics are a lot slower. You literally can press forward, punch, forward, kick, back, punch, and you'll get that kind of action on screen.
So, Camron, are you the type of guy that picks Brad and just beats the living crap out of everybody after like a bad day? It's like, you know what, I'm just going to play Brad and just hit the A button and win.
No, I like to play as like Fei Long or Ellen or Eileen, and just pretend that I'm doing every single kung fu move.
That's fair, because like my friend mains Brad, and oh my god, I hate fighting Brad. He's so annoying. It's like just constant punches, and like you can't even dodge anything. He just has so much priority. It's crazy.
Who's the camo army girl?
Vanessa
is one of the ones that I hate fighting. She is definitely too much for me to handle at times.
Well, she's got those grapples too, and she uses like kind of Jeffrey and Wolf are like pretty grapple heavy characters. And that like that I hate playing.
Hit them.
I mean, they're slower, and that's what like the trade-off is supposed to be. And then when they do connect or pile drive you, you lose half your health. And so that makes sense as part of the balance. But Vanessa is just like quicker than them, I feel also, and so I don't know. I think her and Brad tend to be a little more OP in those games. I don't know if it's just me.
Obviously, it's me too because I got wrecked by Vanessa.
Everyone's getting wrecked by Vanessa.
So Pat, I think you had also wanted to, I mean, because you had been playing 03, and I wish I could be playing 03. I tried to play it earlier this week, and for whatever reason, my Rhea just decides to, no matter whether I do a full boot, quick boot, or just from the cart, all those options, it doesn't matter. Like it just crashes for me, and so I'm a little bummed that I'm not able to play it at the moment. But for those who are, I don't know. It's an awesome game, right?
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of 03. I remember the first time I really played it because honestly 03 to me is rare. I never really played it really outside of like consoleized games. So the first time I really played it on an arcade was a friend of mine. His name was Chris. He used to live near me, and he had literally like a bunch of arcades in his house. And he had a 03. A 03 board that we don't. It was a pain in the ass because CPS2. I don't know, have you guys ever worked with a CPS2 machine before, or a CPS2 board?
Nope.
No,
Basically,
I've only ever seen the MVS stuff.
Basically, with the CPS2, basically you have to connect it at 2 points, like these two boards, an A and B board, and sometimes the boards don't have a solid connection, so you'll get scrambled graphics or it just won't boot. So you have to multiple times, like, put it in, slam it down, like all the corners, make sure it's all even, get the clips in. It's a shit show to get working, but essentially it's a fun arcade. And that's the first time I really played it, was in that arcade experience, and I really enjoyed it. I never really got to play the Alpha series that often, but I really enjoyed 03 or Alpha 3, whatever you want to call it. And fun fact, the Alpha 3 on the Saturn and the arcade for CPS2 is way different than the Alpha 3 for the Dreamcast, because that's technically Street Fighter Alpha 3 Upper, which is a enhanced edition that was ported for the Naomi arcade system, which has a few different mechanics, a few different. It's quite comparable to going to a different version of Street Fighter 2. But weirdly enough, it's labeled as that. It's really weirdly enough labeled as, just Street Fighter 3, so that never indicated that it's a different version of the Dreamcast. But yeah, I played it on the Saturn, and that's pretty much the best version to play if you want to play consoleized. And it's a ton of fun. I really enjoy it. I love the way the mechanics feel. It's the best. It's sort of the best version of the Alpha series. And it used to be my favorite fighter of all time up until I got good at Third Strike, which is undoubtedly my favorite Street Fighter fighting game.
Street Fighter 3 Third Strike is so fucking good. I don't know. I was able to put a little more time into that, and I can just tell that's the game I want to learn to be good at.
What's the one guy that looks like he should be a Shoto but isn't a Shoto? I think he's like, I want to say he's the black kid wearing the yellow gi.
Oh yeah,
in Street Fighter
yeah.
3. I want to
really
be good as him. I want to be good as him, but I am terrible at that game. Just overall, I feel I am terrible at that game. It feels super difficult. Should it feel that difficult when you're coming from the Alpha series to Street Fighter 3 Third Strike?
The thing is that they definitely play differently. Like the only really character that really stays the same is really the Shotos per se, but even then they have some mix-ups with it. It just feels like the Street Fighter 3 is almost a different game per se, like in terms of feeling. Like a lot of the characters are changed up. Like Chun-Li is different. I don't know. Chun-Li changes every game. That's the only issue with being a Chun-Li player. When you pick up a new game and you play different ones, you don't know what you're gonna get. It could be a whole Chun-Li. It could be a quarter circle Chun-Li. It could be none of them. It could be a really random Chun-Li. So you never know what you get with them. And Third Strike is just a ton of fun. I really enjoy it. I think it's one of the more difficult Street Fighters to get good at, but I really think it's worth it. Once you get in the groove of it, per se, I think you'll feel like, okay, I get it, and this is why I really like it. And like
Because
I
I
said,
like Alpha 2 and Alpha 2 Gold so far, and I'm really pretty good at, say, Ultra Street Fighter 4. So it feels like when I tried to play Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, like I said, I felt like I was struggling. I usually come as a Sakura player, so I don't know if that was probably an issue where I was like, well, what character do I play as now?
but yeah, it's less floaty. It's a little bit more slow than the Alpha series. It feels more, I guess, grounded is the best way to describe it.
Was
Yeah, I
Third
can
Strike on
feel that.
Dreamcast? Sorry, I thought it was just
Yeah.
Dreamcast.
Yeah, it was.
Because I haven't actually played it. I didn't know whether I just missed that, like whether like it's completely different to the Alpha series in the way it plays.
It is really. It feels
Right.
like I don't know. Alpha 3 to me is really floaty. Like you can jump all over the place, jump off walls, fly 5,000 feet in the air. But Street Fighter or Street Fighter Third Strike is more grounded, which I kind of like. But yeah,
Yeah, it feels like almost like an SNK game in a way where it's like there's a risk and reward. Like, yeah, you went in, but you misjudged, and now you got punished real hard, and you lost a bunch of health for that.
yeah. But overall, I think to me it feels. I wouldn't say it's really rewarding, and I really enjoy it. I think that there's a really good reward to getting good at and playing it consistently, and kicking ass at the arcade. At least to me. But yeah, like I said, honestly, I couldn't really pick one if I could say my favorite. Probably Third Strike notches out Alpha 3, but just by that
wow.
much.
Okay.
But yeah, Alpha 3 is a ton of fun. Like I were talking about Struth, but Alpha 3 I think it's really good. Honestly it feels like MVC without the MVC craziness, so it's more grounded, it's more relying on like basics like core mechanics versus all these crazy combos. But there's still a lot of crazy stuff you can do in that game, which I enjoy.
Yeah, it's interesting that you edged that one out because I like we were saying, people were like, "Oh, I prefer 0-2 to 0-3," and the Third Strike thing. I've never played it, and all I've heard is that people say, "Oh, it's not as good as 0-3." So I think that's interesting that they're different. But yeah, like it's.
Well, that
I
was
try
the
not to go down.
turnaround. Like, back in the day, I think Street Fighter 3 Third Strike was super panned by critics and fans at the time because we were just
Right.
overwhelmed with games. But now, as time's gone on, Third Strike's got this huge fan base now where people finally kind of got it, like Pat said, and there's like this now a huge community behind it. Because
It's a
one day the
tournament
game was
one,
like
right?
$50 on Dreamcast online, and now it's like a $200 game. Like people just kind of figured out that it was good.
Yeah,
it's a
and the things
tournament
that
game, isn't it? I think people love playing it in tournaments.
yeah, it's just the thing is that it's a really punishing game. Like
Hmm.
I'm not saying it's not fun to play, but if you're going from Street Fighter like Alpha 3 and you go to that, you're not gonna have a fun time. I didn't when I first played it. It just was not like a fun game to play going on. It's like, oh, this feels so sluggish. It feels like almost
That's
a
why
different
Street
game
Fighter 4
almost.
is the way Street Fighter 4 is, right? Because of how Street Fighter 3 was, they went backwards and made Street Fighter 4 more zany, cartoony, bouncy, over the top,
Yeah,
less grounded.
exactly. Yeah. Overall, like I said, like I don't know, like if you're used to playing all the Street Fighter 2s, I would definitely think Alpha 3 might be more in your vein. But if you want to try something that's like balls to the wall hardcore, like get good and like be very rewarding, especially once you get down the parrying mechanics, I think Street Fighter Third Strike can be more rewarding in that aspect. Not
Yeah.
saying that Street Fighter Alpha 3 is like a dumb, like a no-brain game. It's still very complex and a very really interesting game, but it's more like a easy to get started with, hard to master. While like Street Fighter Alpha 3 is hard to start and hard to master. Like it's just more of a hardcore game.
It definitely seems like that bar is higher, and I mean, I don't know. I feel like when it kind of broke into the zeitgeist, or at least established its legend with what was it, the moment in Evo, right? The moment 37.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the Chun-Li versus what, Ken?
Yeah, and you
Daigo
saw
Mahara versus was it the it's Daigo
Yeah,
versus
Daigo.
Versus
Daigo.
who's the other guy?
I'll look it up here. Justin Wong.
Justin Wong, yeah, Justin Wong versus Yeah, so those two, and it's a really famous moment. I think it's one of the moments that really went like, oh damn, I want to get this good at Alpha 3
Yeah.
or Third Strike. Yeah, like I said, it's while it's more of a hardcore game, I really, like I said, I kind of think it's not approachable to people that are new to the just playing fighter games in general. It's because it's just so brutal to get all the timings down to get good, and especially if you're playing at locals, you're just gonna get destroyed if you're not, fairly decent with one character.
So, switching gears a little bit, Nuno has to leave in a few minutes, so I feel like we should change to a very different type of fighting game that he'll be talking about. And so, Nuno, I'll just give you the floor.
Well, it's not like I have much to contribute to this cast, and I definitely feel like the odd one out because all of you guys are obviously very knowledgeable about fighting games in general and the specific games that you've been talking about. And I can't even follow up with conversation listening to you guys, let alone actually contribute something worthwhile. So when you first asked for which games we wanted to talk about, well, I figured that if I'm just going to talk about Virtua Fighter, what do I have to add to the conversation? Because everyone and their mothers have played Virtua Fighter. It's not
My
like
mum hasn't played it.
Well, what are you waiting for? Introduce her to it.
No, I do
man.
put mum in and all my high scores.
No, what I mean is that you understand what I mean. I actually love Virtua Fighter. It was the very first fighting game that I've ever played on the Saturn. I've actually played all of them, 1, 2 kids. Actually played a lot of kids, which is the one that people don't usually mention because it's like that weird spin-off that nobody takes seriously. I don't think that it's on the same level as the main ones, but actually like the kids a lot and play that a lot. And one other game that I've played that no one ever mentions was Golden Axe the Duel. Actually, when I was a kid, I only played the demo, but being a fighting game, you can actually squeeze a lot out of a simple demo, unlike other kinds of games. And it's weird because at the time I didn't even know about the standard Golden. So just to kind of present the game, so Golden Axe is a side-scrolling beat 'em up, one of the most popular franchises from Sega of that time. Although nowadays it's mostly dead series. Well, you can always hope that they come up with a remaster like for House of the Dead or something. But House of the Dead, sorry, Golden Axe the Duel. I was going to say House of the Dead the Duel. That game would be quite something. Golden Axe the Duel is a spin-off of the main series, and it's a one-on-one fighter. And at the time, I actually didn't know about the original series. So later on, whenever I heard people talking about Golden Axe, it was like they were talking about a completely different game, which they were, because I was the one who associated Golden Axe with this one very specific spin-off, which is the Duel. And no one really talks about this game. No one really cares about it. It has kind of a bad reputation. I wouldn't be able to tell you why, because again, I'm not an expert, quite the opposite when it comes to fighting games. So I wouldn't be able to give you the reasons why people don't really care about this game. I'm guessing that maybe the gameplay is just too basic or not balanced enough or just not interesting enough compared to these very technical, very complex games like Street Fighter and all of the others that you've been talking about. I don't know about that. I just know that graphically it's quite something. It's a 2D game, and I think it really represents the power of the Saturn when it comes to purely 2D games, because I think the graphics are amazing. I'm talking from memory because I haven't played it in quite a few years, but I remember the graphics being just like the character sprites were really big and detailed, and the backgrounds were amazing. It had a fantasy setting. I'm a sucker for fantasy settings, even more back then, because nowadays I'm kind of just jaded and just way too used to fantasy settings. There are a dime a dozen nowadays. but back then it left a bigger impression on me. And so, yeah, just the character designs. You had the tropes like the barbarian, the kind of monsters. I think there were a few like non-human characters, and human characters with all kinds of weapons. And the backgrounds, once again, the backgrounds were really evocative of different landscapes, different settings, all fantasy. And yeah, I mean, graphically, it really appealed to me. And it made it stand out from other games. Most fighting games, in general, I think, are always set in present day. I mean, just off the top of my head, Street Fighter, Virtua Fighter, Dead or Alive, it's always a modern setting, like the present day when those games are made. So to have, there are a few, obviously, in different platforms and in gaming history there have been fighting games that break away from that norm. But the norm really is just a general contemporary setting. So just by setting that game Golden Axe in a medieval fantasy setting, not really medieval, more like Conan the Barbarian, more like a really old, really far back in time and really weird setting. I think that made it stand out for me. And maybe I'm just talking out of nostalgia, maybe I just have a soft spot for that game. Maybe the game really is crap. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I just think it's just from the setting alone, it's different from the competition, the other fighting games that most people are used to. So I think maybe that's enough reason for people who are listening to us and have never tried it. Maybe that's good reason to check it out. And let me know if the gameplay is good or not, if the game really deserves to be kind of forgotten by the general Saturn community, or if it just didn't get the love it deserved. I don't know. That's my choice. Give it a try, guys. If you haven't never played Golden Axe Duel, just give it a try. Play a couple of matches and tell me what you think.
Did it have a pirate in it, Nuno?
Can you say that again?
A pirate, like a pirate character.
I don't know, man. As I said, I eventually played the full game, but I'm mostly familiar with the demo. And I just, from memory, I just can't remember all of the characters. Maybe that is, I wouldn't be able to tell you. I just can't remember all of the characters.
No, because I've loaded it up before and just had a quick go on it. And I remember, yeah, it looked lovely. And it just had this pirate vibe. I know that's a bit random, but that's what I took away from it. Maybe some character just had some gold earrings or something.
Yeah, maybe it was just like a combination of a character and a background that really struck that impression. Yeah.
And the fantasy thing, I think the thing is, it's probably just a perfectly fine game, but it, like some of the games, it's up against so much crazy competition. At least as the franchise, they tried something different, and it could have been a hell of a lot worse. Like, what's that? Oh, there were some awful fighting games on the N64, where or there's even some on the Sega CD, isn't there, where you can't see anything because there's a bridge in front of your character and stupid stuff like that. So I don't remember there being anything functionally wrong with the game. It just perhaps wasn't, maybe didn't give itself as much depth as some of these other games. But I'll certainly be whacking it back on again soon.
Well, Nuno was chatting on about it. I was given a quick Google search and a wiki just to figure out, because I've never played the game myself, right? And from what I'm reading, it seems that one magazine back in the day said it was more akin to a 16-bit fighting game than a modern 32-bit fighting game. And that might be where the issue with the game is just that it's a decent game, but it feels a generation off.
Similar to maybe people not liking
earlier, people would have loved it.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly one I'm going to go and try. Thanks, Nuno. And don't say that everything you say isn't worthwhile. You shouldn't put yourself down. You're my favorite.
It was great.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Maybe I'm just feeling dumb. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. We all have bad days. It is boiling. It must be ridiculous in Portugal if you're still there compared to England. I mean, it was 28 today in England, so
I like to switch with you. It's about 35 today, where
Yeah.
I'm at. Please.
Yeah. the
Well,
high
you should be.
stakes,
Yeah, but you should be used to that because it's like that all the time.
Yeah, I kind of it kind of sucks though.
33 here, and I think I have
Mm.
humidity.
Yeah, and I kind of wish I didn't have to wear a jacket. I don't have to wear a jacket anymore when it's 70. Like anything below like 70, I have to wear a jacket. It's just way too cold for me now. It's kind of sad, really. Oh wait, no, never mind. It's 41 now. Sorry about that.
41.
Yeah.
41 what?
What Celsius?
We're hanging around at a cool. Sorry, I had to look up what it is in Celsius because I wouldn't know off the top of my head. But we're at a cool 18 here in Seattle today.
Dang.
Seattle.
Let me fly to where you're at. I'm like melting over here.
18.
But that's the weather report.
Yeah, the weather chat with brilliant. Yeah,
I'm
fantastic.
checking the weather report for the rest of the week over here where I live, and apparently by Thursday it's going to be 39 Celsius, which is
Yikes.
103 Fahrenheit.
And also
Yikes.
where you are in the world, that's a different type of heat. That's not nice. Like
It's
Yeah.
not.
that's dry. Like I went to Malta and we were on a bus and the roads are terrible there. And I was a kid and it was like 43 on the bus and about God knows how much outside. So there's some
Well, I gotta go. It was lovely talking with you guys, hanging out with you. So yeah, just keep on. I'll listen to the podcast like everybody
Cheers,
else
Nuno.
when
Cheers.
it's released. Okay.
It's a pleasure,
Bye.
man.
Marry me, Nuno.
Take care.
See ya.
Thanks for being here, Nuno. I love you.
Love you too.
Marry me, Nuno. I love you.
Oh,
Dang it.
Aw.
oh.
Yeah, I don't know, there's a lot to that though. I mean, sometimes it's nice to just have a laid back, more chill vibe for those types of games in the genre. Because I can totally relate. Like, I will very rarely be able to keep up with most 2D fighters from Capcom or SNK. Like, I mean, I love them from time to time, but my brain often will want to go to something that it can kind of turn off a little bit. And so my picks for today are maybe kind of on that side of the spectrum. They're certainly both 3D games. And the first one I wanted to talk about is one that's pretty near and dear to my heart. It's also a fairly unique game, and that's probably by design since Sega had a lot of others that they were trying to push as their staple fighting game franchises. And this was maybe in a lot of ways it was kind of second fiddle or third fiddle even to those, but Last Bronx, that's the game I've been playing a lot of lately, and it's comparatively simpler. I feel like it's not as methodical as a Virtua Fighter. It's not as bombastic as like a Fighting Vipers, and then it is like a weapons based, so it does play a little bit more with attack ranges and different speeds of the weapons available. I think you have one character has like a mallet, and that you have a wind up period and a lot of slower inputs, but when they connect you're doing a good chunk of damage versus some of the quicker characters that use like sais or nunchucks that are a lot faster, but you have to kind of do quick combos, which thankfully are pretty simple in this game. There are more complicated mechanics if you dive into like the art of air juggling, and so that's where some of the depth comes in. But you can come into Last Bronx as maybe just a novice or somebody like me who just doesn't play fighting games that much in the grand scheme of things, and have a good time. Like, you can do some button mashing and do okay.
Isn't the main like idea of Last Bronx just like your horizontal swing and your vertical swing and how you kind of like combine those two directions?
No, I mean, I would say
realistically?
that's definitely a hallmark of maybe like the Soul Calibur, Soul Edge, or Soul Blade series. Those ones you definitely have more of a horizontal and vertical slashes for all your weapons as well as kicks. Last Bronx, I think, simplifies that a little bit. You really just have your weapon attack and then your kick, and then you can combine those. And then finding just a good set of moves that you can go to pop your opponent back up in the air and do some air juggles. In fact, they have a whole mode dedicated to just practicing air combos, which is pretty cool. So that's, I think, maybe part of it. But yeah, as far as the vertical horizontal like attacks themselves, I don't think it has a ton of that I can recall, or at least not that I've explored.
Thank you for putting in that time. Thank you for putting in the time to explain.
It's an interesting game. I mean, it's a fairly fast-paced game, all things considered. And I don't know. I just like, it's one of those games where the style is the substance. It has animated cutscenes, like kind of before the intro has its own, anime style action opening with a theme song and everything. It's really cool. And then each character, when you play through the Saturn mode with them, at the end they each get like a little bit of an animated cutscene too, which I don't know. It's pretty charming these days. But honestly, one of my favorite things about the game is it's going to sound weird, but the story. I know how little narratives or structured narratives matter for fighting games in general, but for whatever reason, they really went the extra mile to set this up with an incredibly engaging premise that's rooted just enough in reality, but then embellishes stuff like kind of like where Japan was after the big economic boom in the late 80s, and then when that bubble burst in the 90s, and there were a lot of fears over kind of the lost decade, which ended up happening or being multiple decades, but they kind of embellished that alternate reality, I guess, to be like, well, what if everything collapsed in Tokyo following the bust, and gang wars just became rampant, and they ran Tokyo, and they were all vying for for a piece of that pie or for control of the city. And so it, like, I don't know, it's pretty fun in that and there's actually like a whole, maybe I can read it. I have it here from the instruction manual if you are interested, but it's literally just like the story setup for the game, and I think it's kind of amazing.
Read it. Go for it. I don't have an English
Come on.
copy, so American copy. So
I will. Okay, so here's what it says. Tokyo was riding high on the tsunami of global economic supremacy when the bubble broke in 1991. Then things fell apart. 100 billion yen building complexes were left half unfinished, and salarymen started having instant ramen for lunch as the slush money supplies dried up. And slowly, the hidden Japan began to emerge, crawling from the shadows on the outskirts of town, biker gangs and Chinese mafia, loan sharks and slave traders, doomsday cults, madmen, and thieves. Those were the days of the first all-Tokyo street war, where young gangs met and dashed and slid into run-down streets slick with their own blood. Then, a single crew of unstoppable bozazokus, which I had to look this up, it's basically just a Japanese greasers, or like a biker gang. Anyway, the bozazokus appeared to put an end to the violence and bloodshed. Through fair-handed dealings and iron-fisted fighting skills, the Soul Crew gang blazed a path for the future of Tokyo's young. Until, under circumstances still riddled with doubt and accusations, the leader of the Soul Crew was viciously killed. The tenuous balance of power was thrown out of whack, and every street tribe with pride, dreams, or ambition felt the shockwave of his fall like a call to arms. The second street war was ignited. At the height of the fighting, an ominously worded challenge to the leaders of the toughest gangs appeared in graffiti scrawls all over town. Here is what it said. Fellow citizens, we all grow weary of this bitter strife, and so now I call on each of you in the name of peace. You all know how useless these recent squabbles are. I have a modest proposal to remedy this unfortunate situation. I call for a fighting tournament, solely between those chosen leaders of each worthy gang. A decisive battle that will spare the lives of the young while settling the question of which group has the power to rule Tokyo. Of course, the fights will be held in secrecy, and the results will not be made public. This is a fight for honor, not fame. A final word. I regret that under no circumstances can a refusal to participate be accepted. In the event that any of you do not attend, I will make arrangements to have flowers sent to the funeral. I will look forward to meeting each of you at the appointed hour. Signed, Red Rum. And then Red Rum's like kind of the big organization or something, I think. Yeah. Anyway, and then the last little bit here, several of the recipients of this very peculiar challenge shrugged it off as a practical joke, or they thought it was a trap set up by a rival gang. But when members off their crews, when there's some typos here that I'm trying to work through. All right. But when members of their crews were found dead in Tokyo Bay, the truth of its warning became very clear. There will be no RSVPs to the last Bronx. And that's it.
Brian, that was wonderfully read. I think what you should do is edit out the bits where you talked in your normal voice and then go back to the Orson Welles voice that you somehow summoned up. And then you could do that as the send-off for the episode. That was lovely. I like that. It's like a bedtime story. I want the next chapter now.
Well, there are next chapters.
It was a TV show, right? Or an anime, yeah?
Sega, all of the above. Sega had commissioned, I think, a anime, a manga, apparently there is a live-action movie of it with these characters.
Apparently it was a big deal in Japan. And it was a big enough deal that it's got to be a big enough deal where they sent it west. Like, how much things did they send west to us? They're like, here, have the last
What year did
Bronx.
it come out, Brian?
96 in arcades and then 97.
So is that, because I'm thinking it's a weapon-based fighter, so obviously, like, was it Soul Blade before Soul Calibur? Obviously, that was a big deal for Namco, right? Were they trying to do you think?
I think it's Soul Edge.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably in that vein, maybe. I mean, I feel like Soul Blade and Soul Calibur are a lot slower paced. Like, they're a little bit different in how they feel, I guess, and who they would try to appeal to.
I mean, more the weapons, like the nunchucks. You've got Maxi, right? And then you've got there are a few. The weapons seem similar.
Some of them, yeah. I mean, you have police batons, which I guess eventually, like, I think Soul Calibur 2 had a character that kind of had those, and then you had wooden swords. Like, you have this kind
Kendo sticks or whatever. I think.
Yeah, no, it's like it's literally a sword that happens to be. It's the Yakuza character or the Yakuza,
and it's in high res mode. It looks incredible.
Yeah, it's really good, and it looks good, and it feels like it really holds up in a strange way today. I mean,
the environments are brilliant, aren't they?
Yeah, and the environments themselves are kind of fun.
The names are hilarious, right?
Oh, yeah.
The names of the places.
You got the Lust Subway. I think the Naked Airport.
Yeah, the Naked Airport. Yeah.
The Radical Parking Lot. So all of the gangs in the game like kind of have their turfs, and so those are the names of like where they're all stationed at, basically.
Sorry, I was going to mention that. I'm glad you know about that. That's funny. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've played this through with my brother, and he doesn't usually. I'm really into like the Saturn stuff. He likes to be nostalgic about stuff we've played in the past, but he humored me with this one, and we played through it, and he was just laughing about the names of the Naked Airport, and I've got the Japanese one with the stickers and all that. I just got very lucky and bought. It's like mint condition, basically. Like a lot of the Japanese stuff you can get is, because I don't know why it's always nicely looked after. It's got the stickers. It's got the extra disc where you've got a kind of like Camron was talking about. Nuno was talking about Virtua Fighter Kids. They have a kids sort of version, don't they, in the extra disc, and you can there's all sorts of like little story bits in there. I mean, most of it's in Japanese, but the game, again, one thing with these games we were talking earlier about, we can all agree that a great fighting game is depth is in there, but if you're just in that, when you're a kid, you do just bash buttons and you can have fun, but there's so much depth to all the games we've talked about that people have tournaments and go crazy and can do nut stuff. Like, you can change the difficulty so you can just play through it and enjoy it.
Yeah. That's a good point. And actually, I think that's one reason I really like the Saturn adaptations of a lot of Sega's iconic games. I mean, with Last Bronx and Fighting Vipers specifically, I feel like the arcade versions kind of just did the arcade thing where they were designed to munch quarters. And so,
Yeah. And even the SNK ones, they're impossible even on, what's it called, Baby or something on King of Fighters 95. I went to that and I still can't beat that game on like Baby difficulty. So there you go. You can delete me from the chat now. I'm rubbish, but I just like playing them.
Same.
And if they're accessible, that's great. But even if they're not, you can still get better. It's knowing you have to practice. And like who you were saying about sometimes I just want to pick one up and have a go. Other times you want to get real deep into it, and it's a rich genre to like get into when you start as an adult, basically, as opposed to a kid, because you're like, oh, I actually can learn the move rather than just pressing kick with Chun-Li over and over again and just cheesing it, or dry, as we say in the UK. I don't know what you say in America if somebody's doing the same move over and over again.
I don't know. I think cheesing's effective in some cases.
Dry is what you'd say. Oh, that's dry, man. That's dry. You'd say, oh, you're being dry.
Cheap. Is that like cheap? Oh, you're a cheap player. Like, it's
yeah,
cheap
that kind of thing. Yeah, or if you do like the what's that move of Jackie where he against him in normal, I still can't beat.
Oh, the fucking flip.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he does that. He swings you round and then throws you, or he just grabs you so quickly on the harder difficulties that you have to know what you're doing, and that's kind of the fun and the horror of fighting games for me.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Last Bronx is concerned, I mean, it's I don't know, it definitely is of that style where, and it does benefit from balancing or rebalancing in its easy and normal modes on Saturn, where I feel like they were intentionally smoothing out some of the difficulty spikes that would have happened in the arcade version, so players can like kind of ease into it a little more and put more time at their leisure to learn the mechanics, and then gradually increase the difficulty from there. So that's why I like Last Bronx. I think Fighting Vipers is a good example of that too, because that's one that the default arcade, like. Actually, I don't even know if there's a difficulty setting, or maybe you have to unlock it with Fighting Vipers, but the standard default difficulty for the Saturn version is way more manageable than the arcade one, where I think Sandman and Raxel, they just have certain characters that are just cheap as shit, and when you're fighting them, when you get to their stages, they will just spam the same moves over and over, and you can, I don't know, I just really struggled with them when I was playing I think it was the Xbox Live Arcade, which is derived.
But you bought the game, right? You've bought it, you've paid your money. In the arcade, you put your money in, your parents or whoever, you can't spend all your money, you're not that rich, so you have to stop playing it. If you've bought it, you don't want to stop playing it. So if they didn't make it easier for the home port, that would really suck, even though you might get people like who are sort of gatekeeping and are like, oh, you don't know about fighting games, you're no good. And it's like, well, I'm trying, I'm having fun. I like the look of the graphics. It's all cool, You can approach it from different places and aspire to be good. And a lot of I see it all as some of the artwork and the animation in fighting games is basically like Spielberg stuff, it's incredible. And it's some of if you don't even take a look at them because you're like, oh, I don't like fighting games, I think you're missing out on that too. The visuals the Saturn was able to produce, and we're getting to that point where arcade ports are coming home before the Dreamcast, which was pretty much dead on most of the time.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it's and we've kind of talked about this with the different Capcom games, but they really, it's not a blanket genre that I think I could just say that it's, for me or not. It's like, I don't play games of the genre very often, but there are certainly plenty that cater to like that where I'm at, right? Because I don't aspire to be great at most of these games. I don't really feel like I could put in that kind of time or have the reflexes to do well, or to remember all the combos and everything. Like, that's just not where I necessarily choose to dedicate my time, but I absolutely love, jumping in from time to time and spending 20 minutes to run through a tournament or so, or arcade mode of a game, and call it good. And I don't know, it's just kind of fun to not have to just pigeonhole the whole genre into one set of sensibilities, where you just do have games that appeal differently and do different things for people who might enjoy them.
I think that both you, Tom, and you, Brian, are both correct, and I wish more people in and outside of the Saturn community, and we would just approach the fighting game community or the fighting game genre with that kind of idea that I don't have to get to Evo. This game just looks fun. Like, I like the way it looks, and I'd like to play it.
Maybe I'm
I don't
stupid,
have to
but it's
learn
like
all
pretty
the
colors. It's pretty
don't have-
colors. It looks nice.
know?
You know, that's the first.
Exactly. And you know what? To be fair, that's how I started. And I wouldn't say that I'd ever get to Evo myself, right? I don't think that's on my plate. And I don't know every single combo. I know a few things and I know how to get by and stuff like that. And that's okay with me. Like the rest of you guys, I've decided that they're pretty. I'm going to put some time in here or there. And since I've been doing it since I was like 6 with like Mortal Kombat 2 or something like that, on Genesis, that by the time you get to 35, you're like, oh, I know things.
Yeah.
You know, just stuff that people have been like, here, learn this. Here, I'll teach you this. Pat's got to agree to some of those things. Some of it's just the amount of time you're
You
there.
can learn anything
You know,
today.
he didn't
We're
always
living
have
in a
12
fantastic time. I mean, if you want to learn, if you like cooking, but you don't really want to go nuts and learn how to do a souffle, you don't have to. You can just make like a nice spag bowl and everyone will be like, that was great. But if you want to go on YouTube and like, I've started doing it. I'm at that point now where I've watched something about, because I'm just not very good at Virtua Fighter. And I was like, how do I get good? And then you watch it and they're like, yeah, you should use this attack first. There's a name for it where you diagonally down and do a light attack. Use your quick attack first. And it's called prodding or something like that. And all these techniques of basic stuff. And then I'm learning the very basics, you know, and it's like all these people that know it are going to know it. And
yeah, it's definitely a lot different than back in the day where you had to go to the arcade, figure out how to play it, or find the one kid that knew how to play it or had the game and knew how to get good, and maybe hope that you have good players around you and you're not, the best out of everybody.
I mean, you could be really good at one character and one character alone. A bit like if you could only play the entertainer on the piano. Like, I can't play piano very well, but I'd love to just learn one song really well and then not be able to play anything else. But that's my problem, is like I'm quite
That's
good
fair.
with like say quite good. I can play as Ken, but I'd like to be able to. I find I want to be good at a King of Fighters game, like, but those I find really difficult. That's kind of like some next level stuff for me.
The King of Fighters games are like,
I don't know. I think if you found one of the games like Kyo or Iori or even Terry Bogart, play Terry Bogart, and I guarantee you use your Ken moves as Terry.
Like
and
you
you'll
were
do-
saying,
I
the
would
moves
say
might be the
rather
same.
play like stuff like Rio or something, or the other guy, his other brother, like from Art of
That's a
Fighting.
good point.
I
guess.
use hang on, Benimaru. Is that it?
You
The
could
guy with the
use it, would be a
huge
good idea.
blonde mohawk. or
Yeah,
spiky
I
hair.
like him a
Mohawk?
lot.
Yeah,
And I know all
Benimaru.
his moves. But we're talking baby mode, King of Fighters 95. That's like, but again, I think the game looks amazing and similar to Zero, blah, blah, blah. I know that there's better ones with using the RAM card. I think 95 looks great, plays great. And I think it's fantastic, but I'm rubbish at it. But I'll sit there and I think I've got 5 stages in. And I was like, that's a win for me. I'll turn it off because I'm not going to play it for 3 more hours. I'm just going to play it for an hour or 2, and my hands aren't going to want to do that. I need to be able to play the guitar as well, or like do something else.
The thing about fighting games I like, though, is if you're going to invest a minute, you can invest a solid minute and get your ass kicked and be like, I'm done, I'm out, I'm going home, I learned my lesson. Or you can be there for the whole day going, just one more. I swear, just one more. Just one more. Okay, just one more.
Yeah, but
right?
speaking of
And again, you'll still get that same.
yeah, but speaking of the fighting thing, what do you guys use for fighting games? Do you usually use a pad or a fight stick?
That's what I was going to talk about. Was like, we're talking about fighters on the Saturn, and surely most people are thinking, most people will be like, the greatest controller ever created. The Saturn. Well, they even call it the fight pad, don't they? But I use a 3D Saturn 3D pad pretty much exclusively for everything I play on the Saturn. whether it need the analog or not.
I see where Tom's at, and I use the Saturn 3D pad for everything that it is on the
We've
on the
talked
Saturn.
about this we've talked about this on the Junkyard. I think you and me have said similar things. And again, it's nice to chat to you in real life, unless this is a big dream.
I probably alternate. I love the Saturn 2D pad for stuff like Last Bronx, but if I'm playing a Capcom or SNK fighter, I'm usually using a arcade stick.
Yeah, I need to use an arcade stick exclusively. I cannot play fighting games with the pad. I don't know why. Maybe it might just be my fingers or just some stuff with my body, but I cannot play with a fight pad. I have to use the fight stick to play fighting games.
Did you play these games? Are you of an age where you were literally in the arcades playing them? Is that why? Or?
Yeah, but even then, it's like, well, I guess really only the fighting games I played were in arcades back then. But even then, it's just like, I don't know. To me, even the arcade stuff that compared to now than then, it's like completely different. It feels a lot different and a lot more rough.
But you can see why somebody that's so used to using a D-pad, if you're to say, go, right, I'm going to use the arcade stick now, that's hard for me to do. So I just use the pad because I really like. I just think that the D-pad on the Mega Drive and Saturn 6-button controller is the greatest thing my thumb's ever touched, apart from a few other things we won't mention on the podcast.
But my question is, how long do you usually play for sessions of fighting games though with it?
Well, I'm using the 3D pad. Well, if I'm doing a stream, we've done fighting games as a focus, so it could be 2-3 hours.
Okay, yeah, because like the fighting pads, like they get into my fingers, like they grind into my fingers after a while. So doing constant quarter circles over and over and over again, will just destroy my thumb. Like, but with a fight stick, I can.
For me, it's about an hour.
Yeah, like for me that.
I got about an hour every session.
Yeah, but for me,
it's all personal preference. But I'd love to be able to do. I've got because I remember you talking at length at the beginning. I think it was one of your with Dave. You were talking in a Friday Night Shiro, and you were talking at length. And I've again probably listened to that a couple of times. And you're talking at length about is it Sumitsu buttons and all this sort of stuff, and how you can buy a cheap stick and upgrade it. And I've looked into that because I've got a Hori SS with the green buttons, and I know, like, again, to someone that knows their stuff, that's probably not very good if you want to be like tournament class player.
Hori SS is really good.
It's okay stock. It's fine stock. I'll tell you what it is good for. And it's very fun for is if you're playing a game like, what are the Olympic Games ones? I've got both of those, Winter Heat, and you can, on the screen, that's what you're looking at. To bash 2 big buttons to go quick, and for shooters, you can try it, but it's just nice to have that option, especially just if a friend comes over. They're like, oh, I want to use the fight stick, but like I'd love to be able to be good with one, but I kind of feel like it's about my hands, because I like the Saturn 3D pad. Because if it didn't exist, I'd be upset because I'd be like, oh no, what controller can I use that feels comfy? Because the Saturn 6-button just
my problem is that I'm cheap. That's my issue. The controller that I had on Genesis was just the one that came with my console. The 3D pad I had because I wanted to play Panzer Dragoon and Burning Rangers, and then it was just okay. Well, then this is just the controller I have. I'd love to get an arcade stick like Pat. I don't know if it'd be hard to learn. It's just what I had. This is why I use the D-pads and the controllers that come with the console, because it's just what comes with the console. I mean, I've played an arcade and I've enjoyed it, but it's just something that I can't afford. I can't afford an arcade.
Yeah, but the thing is that like I think a lot of people can't, but I think nowadays it's gotten easier to, be able to afford having a home arcade system, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, because it's way cheaper to buy an arcade stick, a PS4, and a TV than it is to buy an arcade
exactly.
machine.
And the thing is that the sticks are so easy to mod now. And when I refer to this easy to sticks, I'm talking about sticks nowadays. The sticks back then, such a Hori SS might be a bit tricky, but like say for example, you're like you're today like, oh, I want a Saturn stick. So what you could do is go on OfferUp or Kijiji if you're nearby anywhere and buy like maybe one of the older PS3 sticks or maybe $20 to $50. Get one of those. Go online, get a Brook Retro board. Get one of those with double-sided tape. Get a Saturn, a Saturn control pad. Wire it all up, and you probably have and get some buttons if you don't want to use the buttons that are already with the stick you have, which usually is Sanwa or Sumitsu. And plug it all up, and you probably for less, maybe about $100, have a stick that's probably the best you can ever get for the Saturn. Maybe cheaper if you even pad hack. So
yeah, I
that's
think it's just a case of like with Camron, he did what he used the tool that was available to him, similar to me with the guitar. You know, I didn't have loads of money. I had a guitar, and instead of a Sumitsu button, it was a new pickup. You know, I put that in, and it made the guitar sound better. And I just had a cheap guitar that sounded okay. But now I've got ridiculous. I have, might have some money I can spend. Can make bad choices, so I could afford to do the stick thing. But it's just for me. I'd love to be able to use a stick. I'd feel like a real authentic badass, to be honest. But I'd literally have to retrain myself because I'm so used to. I've just fallen in love with that D-pad so much. It just feels like I can't use another D-pad now. I'm just like, no, this isn't that good. I'm not going to bother with this controller.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing is that people could pick for preference. Like one of the guys that won Evo when you won it with a PlayStation 1 controller.
No way.
Yeah.
What, an original one without an analog?
I can't remember if it had analog or not, but
Wow.
I'm pretty sure they didn't even use analog. They probably used the digital controls. If I had to.
Has anyone ever won a tournament with a Dreamcast bass fishing controller?
I don't think so.
Or the bulk slash sticks. So they're virtual on, aren't they? But that's
I don't think that's very good. Really good for fighters.
Someone that was good with them though. There could be something funny there. There you go.
Maybe. But yeah, I guess the point is that you don't really necessarily need it. But like for example, if it's more of if you want to, like there's options. It's like, okay, I want to do it. It's not hard for anybody to do. And if you think about it, so say you got a $100 stick, like I said, you're more than not, you're gonna be like, okay, I want to play with this now that I did all the setup and stuff and put for an extended amount of time. So you probably, as you play it, you'll get naturally better at it. Getting used to playing it. So
it could be what makes you like fighting games even more if you're a bit like, oh, I'm not into fighters, and then you go, well, try it with this, and then they try it with the stick, and then they might be like, oh, I love fighting games now.
Yeah.
So you're right.
To me, at least this is my opinion, that
if you're the person that likes clicking keyboards, you might like sticks.
Yeah, I guess to me, it's like the things that using anything else feels like it's a chore and a hassle, but with a stick, it feels like it's an extension of my arm, if that makes sense. To me,
yeah, that
it
makes
does.
sense.
I think it feels very authentic and kind of almost. If I was a kid thinking I could plug in these peripherals and enjoy the games, and knowing that now I know loads about it, I'm like, oh yeah, did you know this is actually like pretty close to what it would have been like in the arcade? Yeah, and you're playing it at home. That's cool. It's even more authentic when you've got the stick. I totally get it.
Yeah, and that's the thing that kind of bums me out for you guys being so far away, because I wish I can just be like, you know what, here, try this out, and put like these sticks in your hand, and you could play it and feel like with Brian, him feeling my candy caps and stuff.
Come feel my stick.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to go there.
I'm sure he. I'm sure.
I'm sure.
Yeah. But no, like with Brian, like he I was able to put, hey, try this out, try this cabinet, try these buttons. This is, the next level almost.
Yeah. No, I'm really interested in the. That's the thing when I go to like a cool game shop and they've got one of these cabinets with like preloaded stuff in. I'm always like, right, what emulation is this? Is there lag? Like, I'm still, if I'm going to play it, and the option is the stick, I'll be annoyed if it's not decent, So I have played on some really good sticks and buttons. And I'm not going to complain I can't use a controller. I think it's just for if I'm trying to practice and get good, rather than just have a little go. For now, I'm just going to use like what I've got here now, and I just prefer to use the because I was told like by people at the beginning, like, oh, use a stick, and also remapping buttons too. That's another thing to talk about. Who does that? Who remaps buttons
all the time.
keeps things simple.
Oh, not really. I don't
Yeah. Oh, so going back to the earlier tangent with Decathlete or Athlete Kings.
Oh, yeah.
And because I also have a Hori SS.
Oh, cool.
And it's it's great for that, but for remapping, because you can just go into the menu, set every button to be part of the action button, and that makes it even easier. So you don't just have one or two, you like just have literally every button that you can just stomp your whole hand on, and it's great.
Brian.
Yeah,
I just thought of something. It's also got little what they call turbo switches, right? The yellow ones, yeah, and you flick it up.
I don't if they work
mine
as
does.
well.
Mine does.
Oh, cool. Mine doesn't, I don't think.
Oh no! Now I feel really bad.
No. So is that just like perfect?
I was going to tell you why it's perfect. Right, it was a game that, again, I think somebody was like, "Oh, you don't know about that game?" And I was like, "No, sorry." Like they had a go at me because I didn't know about it. Apparently, it's the rarest Saturn game ever. It's a ninja game, and someone say what it's called, please. Psycho Killer Mario. Not Mario.
Assassin Taramaru.
Yeah, because Peter had done a post about it. Peter Malik, he's awesome. I like Peter. He's another Canadian as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a nice Canadian dude.
Yeah, and he'd done this, and it was almost like I was like, it come up somewhere in my mind, and I was like, I messaged Peter privately. I was like, dude, where's that review you did? And because he does those cool reviews, and we get them on the Junkyard, and it had gone. Like he said, oh, I took it down or something. I can't remember what he said. And then I wanted to play it and introduce it as like a game that perhaps not everyone had seen. And some people were like commenting like, oh, you don't know about this game. Like this is like super obvious. But yeah, but the point is that you need to there's no turbo option for the shooting. So you just have to tap shoot a lot or fire, whatever, and there's nothing you can do about it. But with the I used the stick because of the turbo function, which was just amazing. It meant that I could play the game for longer. Because I could just have that one button, which was my fire button, have that on turbo, everything else different. And that was another use for the arcade stick. And it's a wicked game, that as well. It's pretty weird, but it does some pretty cool stuff. But anyway, sorry, I was just going to say it's a good use for the stick.
Yeah.
So and you said about
that's a fantastic tangent.
Yeah, sorry, I'm known for my fantastic tangents. Sorry.
No, that is a fantastic tangent because it makes me remember that when I got my Saturn, if and when I get a stick for my Saturn, that was another thing I wanted to see was how many other games you could then use the arcade stick for. Like, oh, could I use it and just play my RPGs like Ray Earth? Could I sit there and play like an action game or
yeah.
It's not mapped. It's not mapped like the 3D control pad is, so it should be.
Yeah, or like the Virtua stick or anything. It will work. Sorry, not Virtua stick. Am I saying that right? I think it's
Twin sticks.
Well, I know it'll work, but I just what will the experience of playing with an arcade stick exclusively?
Puzzle games like Puzzle Fighter and stuff, I imagine would be pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, and shmups. I mean,
shmups as well.
Yeah, shoot 'em ups are the one genre where I will exclusively use a arcade stick to play.
Yeah, because it's easier to bash the button constantly if you do that or hold it down with the giant buttons than the little tiny button like on there and getting your thumb sore.
Yeah, it really is a path of least resistance. Kind of as you were saying, Patrick, is like an extension of your hand. It really is because you're not relying just on everything going through your thumbs, right? To channel the inputs. You got your whole hand on a control stick or a few fingers at least, and then you got your whole other hand that you can use for all the buttons. And it's just a lot easier to be responsive I just feel like I do have a little more control, especially in a bullet hell where you really need to kind of fine tune your and get into a rhythm.
I think this has been really interesting that we talked about the controllers, and like I love the fact that we've all got these passionate opinions. It's almost like we want to grab our favorite thing and play a game now, and that's the point. There are so many options, and like I just love that 3D pad and wish the Dreamcast controller had just been the same because frankly it feels so comfy and the triggers are better and all the rest of it in my opinion. But you guys loving the analog stick, I don't feel jealous. I just kind of think like It's brilliant, and I love that I've got that one use of it for that one game. And I really think if you're going to play that crazy ninja game, try that out, because you'll thank me, because your finger will just die, because all you do in the game is hit shoot the whole time. So,
Hey,
Yeah.
so joining us now is
Oh.
Simon. How are you doing?
oh,
Mr. Earl is late again. I do apologize.
No, you don't have to. It's like
Yeah.
a surprise. It's like the gift you get at the end of the day. Look, we have something new to do.
I'm so sorry, guys. So sorry. I've been hard at work in my garden and my allotment. I have an allotment right now, which is like a small field with lots and lots and lots of vegetables growing. And we're having a bit of a heat wave.
yeah,
for
big
a
time.
very rare thing in Britain. And basically, I was having a bit of an emergency with my tomatoes. I won't go into it, but they'd fallen over. I had to defoliate them. It was chaotic. But anyway, I apologize. I'm here, sunburned, late,
Oh,
apologetic, but I am here nevertheless. My apologies.
I hope you were wearing a substantial hat while you were doing this gardening.
I wasn't, but unfortunately, it's not my head that is burned. It's my feet. My feet are burned.
Ooh.
I was wearing flip flops, and they're the casual.
Ah,
So yeah,
rookie mistake.
yeah. So my apologies again. I'm so sorry for being late.
Big question: are the tomatoes okay? We're on tenterhooks here.
Yeah. Like I've got literally, and this is not a joke, over 100 plants on the go.
Whoa.
And they're all taking quite a lot of attention, and there are other vegetables being grown as well. So yeah, but there's over 100 tomato plants, and they had, in my greenhouse, collapsed. The strings had snapped that were holding them up. I've been in the greenhouse like cooking all day. But anyway, as I say, I'm sorry, I don't want to sort of bore everyone with the details of that. I'm here, and Tom, it's lovely to hear your voice and say hello. So that's worth it in itself to be here.
Oh, well, yeah, no, it's great to be here. We've been having lots of fun, and I'm glad you could join us. So your story of gardening, that's skyrocketed, that has. Your allotment, yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, and I've got another one as well. I'm actually taking on board another allotment, so it's going a bit insane. Anyway,
Wow.
guys, what have you been talking about? Bring me up to speed.
First of all, I would say that I admire the tenacity that it would require and commitment to be able to keep that many tomato plants alive.
Insanity is what you're looking for there.
But I think there's a lot of parallels for what we've been talking about, right? I feel like that learning curve is at least as steep for keeping that shit alive as it is for learning the ins and outs of Street Fighter 3. But yeah, no, we've just been kind of jumping back and forth between, a lot of 2D fighters. We talked about some 3D stuff. We talked about arcade sticks and our preferred controller or just, way of playing them. But honestly, we can just give the floor to you, Simon, if you want, if there's anything in that realm you'd like to talk about.
Well, very much so. I mean, I'm actually all about controllers. I have several arcade sticks, and I just can't really get into them. I was given really nice Saturn arcade sticks by John Lee, and I also can't use the steering wheel, so I'm all about like just your regular Saturn controller. That's my go-to sort of control system for a 2D fighter. And
Well,
3D
what kind of sticks are they? Are they the black ones with the plasticky buttons, or is it like the virtuous sticks?
Is that Patrick?
Yeah, what's up?
Hello, Patrick. I haven't spoke to you for a while. Right, okay, so this one that he gave me has like a sort of Dayglow green, like light lime green color scheme to it. It's white with like black and lime green stuff. I can't. It's not to hand either. I can't just grab it and sort of.
Is it the one that says like virtuous stick? It looks like a spaceship thing.
Yeah. That's the.
Okay.
That's the, yeah. So I have that, but I also have another one as well. And as I say, have a steering wheel. Just don't get on with them very well. So yeah. But my only Saturn gaming of late has been Wipeout. That's the only game I've been playing. Not even Wipeout 2097, just Wipeout.
Still a great game.
It's
No, still very believable. The good father loves himself.
honestly, it's the best. I wanted a game on the Saturn that had some like really deep learning to it, and that is the game. It's just, and the music, my God, like the music, I pump it out of my TV at 70, which is about as high as it will go. And yeah, wow. There was actually a really good article on it in Retro Gamer a couple of issues ago, on the making of it. Yeah, I'm all about the Wipeout right now, and have been for about 2 months.
Nice. And are there any fighting games you've been playing relatively recently?
I would say the most recent was when Virtua Fighter came on to, the VF5 reissue thing. That was probably the last time I was playing any fighters heavily, and that was a while ago.
Oh yeah, we did an episode on that. That was like late last year or earlier this year sometime.
Yeah, I for some reason fighters just haven't really been my thing of late.
Fair enough.
I've also been putting a ridiculous amount of time into Fallout 4, so yeah, that's my guilty secret. I've been PlayStation 4 a lot at the moment.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't played Fallout 4 since it launched, but I did go to Boston a few weeks ago, so similar thing, I guess.
It wasn't post-nuclear Boston, was it?
I mean, give it a few months.
Yeah. Hopefully not.
No, it was beautiful. It was. I had lobster rolls. That was like the first time I ever had a real good lobster roll, which was pretty amazing. We went to see the Boston Pops at the
cool.
Symphony Hall there, which is a really cool venue. And then we just did a lot of walking around.
I have been to Boston, and I went to the real Cheers, which was very disappointing.
Oh, right by the Common there.
Yeah, it was just like a doorway that had Cheers on, and then it was nothing like Cheers at all.
Nobody knew your name.
Nobody knew my name.
Brian, I was going to make that joke.
Oh no!
Yeah, fantastic. So,
yeah, it's a cool city though. I'll definitely go back when I have more time. We kind of just went there for a few days while we were a few days early because we ended up getting a beach house with Katie's family, her parents and sisters, and in Rhode Island. So we were like, well, let's go and do some stuff around Boston before we go over there because I had never been to New England at all, so I wanted to see a little more of it.
yeah, there's a slightly sort of European vibe to it, if I remember rightly. It was the only place in the States where they had roads that weren't straight and things, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's definitely not a grid, which has its own charm to it. I mean, some of the older neighborhoods, especially. Well, I'm sorry, there is a grid, but it's not like in New York where you literally have it consistent for a good chunk of the city. It's all very haphazard, and I think there's something charming to that. I love the older neighborhoods, like the Little Italy district. Forget what they called it. North End. That was pretty fun to walk around. They had some great bakeries and stuff, and then where we stayed, we were kind of near the Faneuil Hall, which is like one of the first marketplaces, like indoor marketplaces with like stalls and stuff in the United States. And I know by UK standards, it's probably not very old, but it was like built in the 1700s, and so it's like kind of a historical site. But then we were also near like the first pubs that, or like the first continuously operating tavern in the United States or something like that. So we went there, and then there was also next to it it was called the Green Dragon, which I guess is a bar that's also really old. That's where Paul Revere and some of the people planned the revolution, I guess, back in the day.
Did you take the tram around? Isn't it called is it Charlie Card that you use to get about?
Oh yeah, for the the subway system or whatever?
Yeah. Because I've got I toured with a band from there years ago, and I'm still friends with them. I've been over there since, and I think it was called that. I've still got it in a tin somewhere, like the like an Oyster card you have for the tube. It was the Charlie card, yeah.
Mhm.
And obviously, there's loads of Irish pubs there. And the architecture's kind of European, like Simon was saying. Some of the buildings, and there's all sorts of like churches, and there's a marina and docks and stuff as well, and obviously the baseball stadium. And there's a venue opposite. I went to see somebody play there as well. It's quite a cultural place.
I guess it probably lives up to the New England's moniker of the region, I suppose, since given all of it, that influence is pretty specific at the time.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, cool. But yeah, I mean, what else? Anything else that people want to chat about or touch on, or any?
I'm gonna ask Simon, what would a couple of your favorite fighting games be on the Saturn, Simon? I know that you haven't been playing any recently, but when you think of the Saturn, what would be a few fighting games that you would be thinking of playing?
Well, certainly in terms of 2D, it would be Street Fighter for sure, and some of the Marvel games by Capcom, like the Children of the Atom, I love, and the X-Men versus Street Fighter, I love. What's the Marvel superheroes? Is that called? Anything basically from Capcom is cool, but I also love King of Fighters. I've got a lot of 2D fighting games. In terms of 3D fighters, has to be Fighters Megamix all day long, because it has a bit of Virtua Fighter Kids, bit of Fighting Vipers, bit of a few guest appearances from Sonic Fighters, is it, or something? So yeah, Fighters Megamix all day long, love it.
Nice. What's your favorite character to play as? That's not the Hornet.
Well, no, actually, I do like the Hornet, but I would have to say my favorite character is she called Jam from Virtua Cop?
Yeah, Janet.
Janet, there you go, the lady from Virtua Cop. I just think there's something very cool about the fact that there's a Virtua Cop person in there, and if I remember rightly, shoots her gun as her special move. So yeah.
All right, y'all. Well, I guess we can just go around and just say where we're can be found around the interwebs, if that's a thing you want to be. Assuming you want to be found to begin with. Cameron, where can people find you?
I can be found at Sundane on pretty much anything.
All right, and Simon.
I can be found in my allotment or at the Saturn Junkyard. Facebook group is where you most often find me.
All right, and how about you, Tom?
Jiggle85 at Jiggle85 on most social medias like Facebook, Instagram, and then obviously on Twitch we've got the Saturn Junkyard Twitch channel. It's just the Saturn Junkyard on Twitch, and we're going to be playing fighting games next time. That's what we'll have to be doing now. So that's fine by me. So we've visited those many times, and
Nice.
we shall be playing some more. Maybe even right. What was Nuno's again? That's one I had to, because he had to go, didn't he? It was the Golden Axe Warriors. So yeah.
Oh, the
was
Duel.
it that one?
Sorry. Warriors was the kind of top-down Zelda style game.
Yeah. So maybe we'll start with that. We'll give it a fair crack.
Yeah. How about you, Patrick?
You can find me at Sega Saturn Shiro, Facebook Sega Saturn Shiro, Facebook, Twitter, our website SegaSaturnShiro.com. You can find me personally on Twitter at Traynoco, Traynoco. So you can find all my links to all my socials there for the Shiro website, on my Spirit Hunters podcast as well, for my anime podcast I do for Hunter x Hunter and Yu Yu Hakusho. And then just follow that my main account. You could see me post dumb things, post updates, post art, share dumb articles. So
With his joystick.
yeah, my joystick.
Post himself playing with his joystick.
Uncensored joystick pictures. That's actually only on my OnlyFans, which you can also find onlyfans.com/Trinoco.
Gotta make that bread somehow,
yeah,
buddy.
naked stick pics. I'm down. But
All right.
but yeah,
I'm Brian, a Virtua Schlub. I'm sorry. I'm at Virtua Schlub on the Twitters, and that's pretty much the only thing I check. I think I check social media in general less and less, but that's probably the one that I do more often. Well, on that note, thank you for sticking with us, and good night, perverts.
later.
KO.